Good evening, everyone. My name is Jsaytech, and today I'll be showing us a lot of things in terms of cat, the cat. So I want you to stay in sync with me as we go through the code and also go through every path that we need to go through in terms of understanding more um, about how the add to cart works, even from JavaScript. I pray God will help us. I remain my humble self. I'm George Esoluwaseyi. As you learn, just stick to your screen, write some things down, and achieve a lot of things. So I'll be sharing my entire screen. I'm sure you should be able to see my screen as we speak. So I'm going to start by explaining what we have here. For what we have here, if you can see even from the beginning that we've added every necessary thing, starting from the title, going to the kind of style we are using, which is main.css, going to the script, which is main.js, the logo, which is a five icon, the CDN we are using, the CDN consists of a lot of fonts, awesome, that we use, like the cat. What we're talking about is this. I'm going to show us in a bit. What I'm talking about is this icon. If you are not connected online, you might not be able to use this. So you have to get this CDN js.cloudflare to achieve that. So moving ahead, for you to have this hero section, for it to work properly, you should be able to have a class called hero, our navigation bar, which is navbar. The class is navbar. The class for the logo is gadget, is a test, and the menu, class for menu is menu. So now, and we have our links, index.html, which is home, about, service, products, contact. But what we are really interested in, instead of creating a div, we are creating an anchor tag or element. We have href. What I did here was to make sure we have add to cart.html. If you check from this side, there's it here, add to cart.html. So I had to link it up, and then we have our class, which is cart container, and I class fast fast shopping cart, which is that particular sign we are seeing here, is what we are seeing here too. And then we have cat.icon, hyphen icon, span, cat icon, starting from 0. I'm going to explain the JavaScript, but I just want you to know that this is what we are using. Furthermore, forging ahead, if we check our main.css, we'll see when it got to the cat part, we can see, let me divide this into two for you to see. I will have my HTML here. So automatically for the cat here, you will see cat container. The display is flex. Align position is center. All of this is to make sure we have it on a straight line. We have everything on a straight line. We don't have it being broken. Yes, that's why we did that. So also the cat icon, the font size, this is the cat icon. We are making it visible and white, and that's the font size. So what they see this in the world of web development, this is seen as a font, like a text. And that is where the word awesome fonts came from the top here. So moving ahead, we have a guy that is very, very important. And the name of the guy is called cat count. Cat count. You can see we are using an hash here. Cat icon is an hash because it's an ID. If you can check the cat icon, you see that it is an ID. And also this guy called cat count is also an ID. So the background is red. That's why you're seeing this at the back for you to have a visible view of what is happening. And also the color is white. The radius is 50%. Radius simply means how round it is. How round it is. That's what we mean by radius. And also we have our padding 2 pixel, 6 pixel. That's top, bottom, right, left, left, right. Font size is 12. Margin left is 5 pixel. So all of this is just to make sure that we have our cards prepared. And it must start from 0. And that is why you are seeing 0 here. This is very, very important. Don't make any mistakes with this. This is very key. And this is very, very important. Okay, let's forge ahead. We've been able to achieve the path of our HTML and CSS in terms of our cards. Mind you, we have the JavaScript part, which is very important. So I'm going to be bringing up the JavaScript part now. Let me close this. And then I open up my scripts.js. That's the JavaScript that we are using for the cat. So if you scroll down, you'll be able to see script.javascript, script.js, which is the same thing you're seeing here. Automatically, what this does is this. So anything we are doing, JavaScript makes it beautiful for us to get value for what we are doing. So number one is if I come here and I do something like this, just look at me, add to cart. From the beginning, you won't see anything here. But if I do something like add to cart, automatically it increases to 1. So if I press it 5 times, 2, 3, 4, 5, you see I have it here automatically. How would this work? Let's come back to our JavaScript code. Let me close this so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to increase the size a bit for good view for we that we are listening. You see, we have a guy like a variable that is created. You know, I taught us that in JavaScript, you can make use of cat count is equal to 0. You have made a variable. You can say var, which is a variable, cat count is equal to 0, semicolon, or you say let cat count equal to 0, semicolon. You have actually declared a variable. But in that variable, we have to declare a function and have what we call an increment operator. What do I call it? Increment operator. Now, let me explain this. Function, which is add to cart, simply means you are having a box where you are adding all the things you are buying. And JavaScript recognizes add to cart because you have declared it as a function. That in any time this function comes up, these things that are happening at the middle here should go on. Anytime you talk about add to cart, all of these guys here is just like you are talking about bread, sliced bread. But what is inside might be lettuce. It depends on what you want to put. For me, I would prefer lettuce, tomato, cheeseburger, cheese. Sorry for adding burger, cheese, butter. All of this is just to make sure that you get value for the bread sandwich. For those who have added fish before and other things, you see how sweet it is. That's how a function works. The outer part of the function is add to cart. But what is inside of the coily brace, which is this guy, is what makes it works. So the first thing you're seeing here is called cat counts, which is plus plus. That's what we mean by increment operator. Increment operator. That simply means anytime I click add to cart, I'll see this increase from 0 to 1. If I click another one, to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, depending on how many times I click. Now, it should go to a method called document.getElementById, which is cat count. You can remember we use this .test count, which is equal to cat count. Test content rather. If we go back to index.html and come to where the cat is, automatically you will see what we are talking about. Here you can see the method, the function tag that we used, which is add to cart. But mind you, don't forget that we are using something called cart count. Cart count. So cart count is inside of add to cart. If you check the JavaScript, let me split this into two. If you check the JavaScript, look at this guy called add to cart. It's the same guy that you're having here, add to cart, which is a function. So automatically, anytime I unclick, what I mean by unclick is that anytime I click on this button, I should have add to cart. So let me show us what I'm talking about. Anytime I click on this guy, add to cart. Now, let me click on it. It should give me the numbers I want. I can refresh to take everything away. And then I have my 0, right? So that is what it does, literally. And it makes it simple. It makes it simple. Lastly, I want to show something. Now, if you go to the section where you have your product cards, I intentionally make sure that the top is dollars, while the one down here is in Naira. I've told us that we can get the Naira by researching online. The best and the only currency that is recognized globally is yen, pounds, euro, and dollars. So you can research to get your Naira to use. Now, we have this guy called main. I intentionally use this guy as an example. And let me open up this guy called main. The main guy, what it does is that it works with the styling. So if I come down here, let me come to the products cards section. So I'm going to look for main, not menu, main. That's what I'm looking for now. Okay, here I go. I have my main already. For my main, you can see the padding is 40 and it's in PX. And then we have test align, which is center. Now we now have products. Look at the class here, products. If you check, the first thing we're working on is without dots, because if you don't put a class, you can't put a dot, right? So, but for products, you have a dot because we have actually classed it. The background should be white. The padding should be 20 pixel. The border radius is how curved it is. I've taught us in class is 8 pixel. The display should be inline blocked inside. The box shadow should be 0010 pixel. And this is the color for the box shadow. So let's just look at it. RGBA, red, green, blue, alpha. So when I come back here, this is what we just saw earlier on. Product name. So the more I change it, the more I have a leverage. Can do JBL, Bluetooth, JBL, speaker, sorry. So automatically, I've been able to add that, and then I can increase the price depending on what I want to achieve at the end of the day. Um, and then I can come here. Um, Let me just reload this so for you to see. You can see JBL speaker. I can come here, can copy the image I have before now, copy it, and then I can just drop it immediately after the product, just to make sure I have an image. Yeah, so let's just reload and see. So I'm having issues with that. I need to do a lot of styling before that can be achieved, but that's not a problem. Styling is not why I'm here. Why I'm here is for the case of adding to cart. Now that I've been able to do this, now let me add this guy to cart. Where I'm going to, you will see now. You can see this guy. I'm adding it to cart. If I click on add to cart, I have one, right? And automatically I can now click on this guy. Before now, I don't have the leverage. It's just like me wrapping this inside an anchor. But in this case, this is what I'm wrapping inside the anchor. And automatically it brings me to the page called add to cart. So what I just added should be reflecting here. And that's the next thing I'll be teaching in the class. And then you get your shopping cart total, which will be some calculations that we'll make available. But let me show us something before I call it a day, is that what we did here is to add an anchor text, an anchor tag element. Add to cart.html is another page entirely. And that's the same thing you see on Jumia, you see on many websites. Let me open Jumia to us. Jumia, for example. Um, and then I've added to carts. I normally use this as example in my class. When I click on carts, for example, it shows me automatically what I've added. We'll be doing this with JavaScript, but it's one step at a time. You need to learn the first part, which is making sure your HTML is working properly. And then you can now move to styling it, and then you make sure your JavaScript work with it. So you can see this, for example, button on click add to cart. That function should repeat itself. And then automatically on your JavaScript, you should have a lot of codes like that should work alongside with that ID called cart count and add to cart as a function. This is where I'm going to actually draw the curtain. I promise that I'm going to actually show us how this works. And that's what I've actually done. In the class furthermore, we'll be working on this. And I'll be telling us on how this was done. I'll be explaining in the class. If you go to my uh, my main.js, you should be able to see const tests. I'll be explaining this in the class. Welcome to gadgets. Const speed, const erase speed. So it will delete at a certain time. Const pause. Let I, declaring I to be 0, is deleting false. Const target document. So the effect we are adding to it, making use of if statement, I'll be explaining with this in the class. And that's why anytime I load this, it has the leverage to type all of this. So we'll be looking into all of this. Furthermore, please study. Even the Bible I read says study to show yourself approved, a workman rightly dividing the word of truth. So please, I beg of us, let's make sure um, we study our JavaScript very well to understand the functions because we are here in functions. That's why I'm trying to use it to explain the cat function and our designs, no matter how beautiful it is, people want to see it that it is functioning. So I remain my humble self, Jsaytech. So if there are any questions, you can actually drop them on the comment section or the WhatsApp section, any parts where you can actually reach out to me. I'll make sure I reach out to you also in my spare time. I might not at all, but just bear with me. But you just try more. We'll be able to see and talk. Thank you for your time. Bye. God bless.